Podcast, audio commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign,
Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 9.
Celebrations! All right, well, welcome to episode 439 of the Clive Barker Podcast, and we are on our 13th season now, and this is, we're coming back to the A to Z of horror, because it doesn't ever die, especially Z for zombies, and we're starting up the Evil Dead series with the first movie, The Evil Dead. This is the only one that has the word "the" in it. We want to welcome Ed and Nina. Welcome back, Ed and Nina.
Thank you. This is your blind podcaster from San Francisco Bay Area.
And I'm Joe as usual, or Jose, like Ryan likes to do the correct pronunciation of my name as usual.
Well, if we've got a guest named Joe, I don't want you to say you're also
right. Joe. That's right. Yes, whenever we get Joe on the show.
Yeah.
So today, like you said, zombies never die, right? Today we're doing Evil Dead.
Unless you dismember them.
Yes. So instead of removing the head or destroying the brain, in this case they're Kandarian demons and they have to be dismembered. And
even then it's a little iffy.
It's a whole thing.
The act of bodily dismemberment.
Yeah.
So Sam Raimi movie from 1981. So we're going back a whiles on this one.
I watched this again last night in 4K on my 4K Blu-ray. I'm a little disappointed that the 4K Blu-ray edition has really bare bones on special features. I've owned a lot of different copies of this movie over the years. I had it on Laserdisc and then lots of different editions of DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff, and with lots of different anchor-based special features and stuff. And this one, all it has is an audio commentary.
Oh, really? From who?
I think Rob Tappert and Sam Raimi. Oh no, Rob Tappert and Bruce Campbell.
Oh, it's not
Sam Raimi, yeah.
Oh, and Sam Raimi. Three of them.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's an old one or a new one. I didn't watch that part.
There was a really good edition by Anchor Bay as well, with a lot of special features, and I think that's the one I'm watching. Yeah, as usual, I hope you guys got your movies
queued up.
Thank you, Ed, and I'm ready to go. We're going to be talking through the movie, referencing some scenes and talking about trivia and other stuff behind the scenes about the movie production. So as usual, once we do a countdown, you can hit play and you'll be synced up with us. Who wants to do the countdown today?
Well, and first we should say where we're queued up to, right? So we're right
I'm on Renaissance Pictures.
Yeah, right in the. I'm kind of in some black space right before it. We can. Cue it up. Just a few. I'm a few seconds before that, so I'll let it go to
the Renaissance Pictures presents.
So I'm on the kind of gray static right before Renaissance Pictures shows up.
Very good. I guess I'll do the countdown today.
Sounds good.
For this continuation of our series of A through Z commentary, Clive Barker's A through Z of horror. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and play.
Here we go.
All right.
Yeah.
So this kind of gray static, as you mentioned, is basically a fog bank.
Yeah.
Serving as the background for this wonderful title of The Evil Dead, which wasn't supposed to be the original title for this one, right? It had
no, it was going to be The Book of the Dead originally.
Yeah, working title. Look at the swampy forest, and you see little bubbling smoke from decomposing material.
Yeah.
No drones in these days.
Yeah,
I know. So I was just thinking about that.
They were using what they called the shaky cam, which is a long 2x4, and they would bolt the camera in the middle of the long 2x4, and one end would be one guy, and on the other end would be another guy, and they would literally run and hop over rocks and logs and, skim over the water and everything to get that shot. It was kind of like a poor man's Steadicam.
Yeah. Even on top of the water.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
I mean, the water
Well, he was
wasn't a
pushing him
lake
in a
or anything.
canoe.
You know,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
had
With the
they
camera
had
in
a
the canoe.
like I mean, not a canoe, but a raft, like an inflatable rubber raft or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they were
Hear the
pushing. One guy
screeching.
was pushing the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Bruce actually wearing waders, rubber waders up to his waist.
No way.
And Sam was in the rubber raft, with the camera.
That's cool.
So the thing that we keep seeing, like barreling through the forest, also known as the evil or the force.
Or the Kandarian demon.
Oh, the Kandarian demon, right?
Yeah.
That's the evil force that represents the spirit of the Necronomicon Book of the Dead.
And it's
Right.
about to grab their steering wheel and jerk it.
Right, to crash.
Oh, no. That was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, along the road here at the beginning, there's a couple of bum-looking guys on the side of the road, and that's
Waving.
actually Rob Tappert and Sam Raimi.
Oh, really?
Oh, I see.
I wasn't
yeah.
honking at you.
He likes to do like a Hitchcock and be in
Yeah.
the film somewhere.
There they are. I see them.
Yeah, they also play, like Rob Tappert and stuff will play a fake Shemp a lot, which is whenever they need somebody to be seen like from behind or whatever, they can put the same costume on and then double for that person, even if they're not on location.
Yeah, because the shoot went on for a lot longer than was intended originally. So the cast had fulfilled some of their commitments. They have shot most of the stuff, but then they were still wanting to do more footage and kept on shooting stuff with extra weeks of shooting. And at that point, they didn't have the original cast.
I thought this movie went on for years, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like a whole year in post-production.
There was a
What
earlier
Jose is
version.
saying, what Jose is saying is correct, because what they had to do in order to make the film in the first place was they made this short film, like a 30-minute film, which you can find on YouTube, called Within the Woods.
Yeah.
And that film was like what they called a proof of concept film. And they made little appointments with doctors and lawyers and dentists and stuff, trying to get them to invest in their film. And they would just make cold calls and say, my dentist told me that you might be interested in investing. And so can we come by on Saturday or whatever? And you'd be like, well, no, I'm not really that interested. We'll be by at 8:00. And they would just do it. They would just show up. They would show the film like on a sheet, in somebody's laundry room or wherever,
I used to have editions of the movie that had that included, but not
really?
anymore. Yeah. I remember one of the editions I had that rubbery Necronomicon, cover.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Tom Sullivan, my friend, the guy that did the effects, he did that book. He made the sculpture of that little, the DVD book, of the Dead edition, like the collector's edition.
Yes, Tom Sullivan made the book, and he also designed the Kandarian dagger.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And did all the makeup on all the actors.
That's really cool.
Oh, look, they got to the cabin. And I got to say, the cabin is like super creepy. It's right in this like edge of like this. It's nestled between like almost two low hills, and
I've got to say that cabin looks like just a normal part of my job.
Yeah, in Alaska.
Yeah,
it's that cabin is a character unto itself.
Yeah,
I mean. Mm-hmm. What you're saying about the location, there's like a bowl, they call it, of a round in the back of the cabin.
That's right.
And it kind of isolates that location and makes it more creepy. And
frames
they use the fog machines to great advantage. They have these giant, really loud fog machines would be, really loud noise. But they would take a couple of fog machines, and there was some, creativity with how they would use the fog. They learned, okay, the wind is going this way. Okay, let's, make it work. And then it would roll towards the lens and stuff. And it's really quite a character within the film.
Tom Sullivan, there's a whole video of Tom Sullivan talking at some convention for about 45 minutes. And he's talking about all the stuff from Within the Woods and the experience that they accumulated. And I just love this shot here where he opens the door and you see that deer head mounted on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
With all the dust floating in the air. That's just great. But he said that when he was approached to make the special effects for this movie, he only got the script 3 weeks ahead of schedule, which, for a special effects artist, that's not enough time to design. Go through the script. You have to figure out and break down all the effects shots.
Revisiting,
they did it.
Revisiting this movie, I think it's interesting to see the development of the character of Ash because he's kind of a lovable doofus, in the first movie, and then but over the course of the series, he's he turns into a real jerk, but he's like an expert on fighting the evil dead.
Yeah, it's interesting what a fan favorite he is.
Oh, yeah,
he's right up there
Ash.
He's right up there as a character. Like in the pantheon of great horror stars, Christopher Lee as Dracula, Robert Englund as Freddy, like Bruce Campbell's right up there with them.
He's the chin.
Yeah, well, because he's also hilarious.
And he does all his own stunts.
Yeah.
Look at the creepiness of this little workshop inside the cabin with all the saws and stuff hanging out, bones. Almost reminds me a little bit of parts of the Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh, yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
They said so even in the commentary that they also wanted to invoke that, because there's a chainsaw in there and it's got the bare light bulb hanging,
Okay, here's the opening kind of supernatural sequence here, which is, I think it's Cheryl. She's kind of drawing the old grandfather clock, and the woods are aware of their presence, right? So the clock just stops and the bell starts tolling.
And also the Book of the Dead she draws.
Yeah.
Yep.
Her hand gets possessed by a gust of demon wind.
Yeah. And
I love how they use the swing set with the chains to make the chains be in the shot.
That's that swing that's on the porch, that wasn't there. A lot of the stuff they modified, to make this cabin the way it looks in the film, and that swing set was one of them. They had this thing where it was bang, 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 and then it just stopped.
At the beginning, when they get to the cabin. So she's drawing now a rectangle, and she's going to scrawl a face on it, and that's foreshadowing, of course, the Book of the Dead.
I remember once on Occupy Midian, there was a debate about, because we're talking about a remake of Nightbreed, and there was a debate about has there ever been a remake that's better than the original, and I said Evil Dead 2. And people were like, Philip O'Neill was like, that's not a remake. I said, what are you kidding me? That's the same movie it's just, bigger budget and more stuff happens. But
that's
it's the same characters, and he goes, it's not a remake, it's a retcon sequel. And I'm like, what's the difference?
What Bruce Campbell says.
That's basically the same.
The way Bruce Campbell clarifies it. It's a recon and a sequel, because the problem they had, with making the second movie was they didn't have the rights to their own footage, so they couldn't use footage from the first movie to show a recap of what happened last time,
But most of the movie is a recap. I mean, like three quarters of the movie is just a recap. So I mean, to me, it's still a remake.
Yeah, but they did change some of the things about the basics. Like, for instance, Ash is going back up to the cabin in a car with a group of people, but they're all different actors. They're all different people. And I believe they all have different character names as well.
No, I don't. His girlfriend is still Linda.
Okay, but it's a different actress. And
but it's the same character.
But the point is that they only did that because they couldn't get the rights to. It's a Dino De Laurentiis. The second movie is a Dino De Laurentiis production, and Dino could not get the. New Line Cinema was the first film's releaser, and they would not play ball with Dino De Laurentiis, so they couldn't get the footage from the first film just for a short recap. So they had to reshoot a recap. That's why it's like this.
We just had the sequence of the toast while they were drinking a very suspicious, very red shake that someone was making. And of course, when Bruce Campbell is saying we're in this wonderful cabin, that's debatable, with good friends, and then the trapdoor just kind of swings open, and everybody's now looking at it.
I remember seeing in like an audio commentary or documentary a long time ago when they were talking about that speech that he was making, that they were all like they were all actually high, and that was all completely ad-libbed, just junk. You know.
Well, it's in the script. I'm looking at the script as we're watching it, and it says,
you got a copy of the script?
I do. I got the little copy of the script, and it says, well, I'd like to make a toast to Scott, who almost killed us. Oh, eat shit and die, will you? And then, okay. Then to a wild weekend in a wonderful cabin with good friends, provided we live that long.
And that's not what he
He
said.
actually says that.
That's not what he says in the movie.
There's a few little things that they cut. Yeah.
You know what else is interesting about what you were saying about them being high, on weed, was Bruce Campbell did smoke weed on the set for this movie, but it was the first time supposedly, and it was a disaster. Like, in other words, it was in the script that they're all high. So Sam said, well, let's go ahead and use real weed and try it, And so it was a disaster. They couldn't even use any of that footage.
Course.
I think a couple seconds of a one line or something is all that gets used.
Because you forget your lines, you get the giggles, it's all sorts of stuff. People want to do everything except work when they're high.
And they forget how to act.
Right.
Yeah.
But, of course, in a road trip like this, going into a cabin in Tennessee, I mean, of course there's going to be weed. Someone's going to bring some weed. But Tennessee is something else. I've spent a vacation in a cabin in Tennessee. There? Yeah, in Pigeon Forge. And it's great. I mean, we had this, with Sarah's family, we once stayed at this, it was like 3 floors. The cabin had like 3 floors, a basement with some games.
That's a house.
Yeah, it was a house. Yeah, it was a big house. Big cabin house. We were like several people there.
This cabin is only 1 story.
Yeah. But when you go out in the balcony, we were overlooking this kind of valley where you see nothing but trees as far as the eye can reach. And then once you see the wind blow from one side of the valley to the other, and you see the trees just sway along with it. Yeah. And you hear the noise of the trees swaying. And you feel like, there's something. You feel like the hills are alive. It's not just
the ents, the tree ents.
They feel like the hills are alive. It's a living thing that you're looking at. And it's a little unsettling for a brief moment.
You know what I like about the story of this movie, and the fact that they lived in Michigan, and they thought that they were going to try to shoot this at a certain time of year where they could have actually shot it in their own area in Michigan, and they ended up going to Tennessee thinking, oh, we'll go south where it'll be warmer, and it turned out to be that Michigan had one of the warmest summer time periods of when they were there. I forget if it was spring, summer, winter, whatever, but when they got down to Tennessee, it was November and beginning to get freezing cold, and it turned out to be one of the coldest time periods there in the cabin area in record.
So Ashley went into the cellar to find his friend, and he found this door, and he's opening the door now. And this is a super creepy basement. I mean, there's no light in it. It's all a bunch of shadows and a bunch of junk and condensation dripping from the ceiling.
Yeah, like pipes dripping something.
Yeah.
And you know what else is cool is their use of sound. It's like the space of a basement, is like an underground, dank, hollow kind of cave-like place. Ooh. And their sound effects are great.
Yeah,
I know the ambient, the room tone for the basement, and the echo, and that kind of undertone hum. Oh, look, there's a Hills Have Eyes poster in the stuff that they're looking at.
Yeah,
they always
in the back.
They sneak stuff like that in. If you go through all the other movies,
Michael
there's always
Berman.
something like that in there.
Okay, never point a gun at someone, for starters.
Right at his face.
If you find a random gun, never point it at someone.
Yeah.
It was interesting, too, about the tape recorder that they find down there, reel-to-reel tape recorder.
Yeah.
Oh, I just found the Necronomicon.
Well, that tape recorder as a prop, belonged to, I think it was Bruce Campbell's dad or something.
Oh, no way.
He let them borrow it, and, they never returned it,
There's the book.
You know what's interesting about the... Oh, go ahead, Nina.
I was just pointing out there's the Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
I love that thing.
And the Kandarian dagger.
I had it in my hands. Tom let me, hold it and stuff.
The original book?
Yeah, we went to Japan and brought all these props and stuff because there was a haunted house type special effects exhibition that was held in Tokyo at the Tobu department store. Are you familiar with Tobu department store in Japan, in Tokyo?
No, I never got to Tokyo. I was in Kobe and I went to Osaka and Kyoto, but.
Well, this special effects exhibition was really cool because it had a scene from all these different movies, like in a haunted house. Like you'd go along on the trail of all the different vignette rooms, and you'd come across a room, that was set, the inside of the cabin from Evil Dead, and chopped up body parts all over the floor, and a trap door. And we had on a motorized rig, the head and arms of Sister Cheryl down under the trap door going up and down and up and down, and you'd hear the soundtrack from the movie going, "It's your Sister Cheryl."
So they're listening to the tape for Dr. Julian Nobi, professor of ancient Egypt mythology, and he was saying how he found this in the ruins of Kandar, and Kandar is going to be the castle that we're going to see in the later sequels, right?
Army of Darkness.
Army of Darkness. But he finds that there, and makes you wonder, like, of course, that book is placed there by Ash, or, by the events that happened with Ash in the third movie. And so it's kind of funny that it kind of loops back, because then the Doctor is going to find the book and is going to bring it to the cabin where Ash is going to find it.
Yeah.
Right, like a time travel film with a loop, a big round loop.
I can tell you guys there is a lot of lore about this, and I have to right off the bat state that I've never watched the TV show. I've never watched the Ash versus Evil, TV show or anything like that. I've just seen the movies, but there's so much lore in the wikis for
the info
Evil
on the lore.
Dead. Yeah. Like, there's a whole article about who wrote the book that created the Kandarian demon, the old ones. And
it's so Lovecraftian. It's right.
It is
Lovecraft.
Well, and the name of the book is a mix of the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis is a mix of Latin and Greek,
and also the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a copy of that. Actually, I have a copy of the Necronomicon in paperback, and I have a copy of the Book of the Dead in hardbound, the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
I used to have both of those, but I don't anymore. I sold them when we moved one of our times.
Yeah, I got to sell a bunch of stuff because I'm blind. What am I doing with books?
Oh, yeah.
The tree just fell, it just invaded their cabin as the professor was reading the magic words, the recitation.
Yeah, that's what's cool about that idea is that, he found the book, he translated it, and then he got a tape recorder and he recorded himself reciting the passages from the book, which wakes the demons. And even though, his intention was not to wake the demons, just scholarly to translate it, he stupidly made the mistake of speaking it aloud and recording it. So now forever, whoever stumbles upon the tape recorder will wake the demons.
I know. So
when I was watching this, and I didn't get to watch this in the theater, so I believe that the first time I watched this, it was either on TV or it was like we rented it on tape. And so I've always thought that, to me, what was clear was that this professor, whoever he was, and the people who he took to that cabin, the same thing happened to them while he was
Well, it was
recording.
only just him and his wife.
Yeah, I'm guessing that.
You learn a lot more about it in Evil Dead 2.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was just two people, and she became possessed, and he had to kill her, and he couldn't bring himself to dismember her.
So he buried
Henrietta
her.
Was his wife.
He buried her in the earthen floor of the cellar.
Right.
So help me.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like about the whole idea of the movie is it's Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Ones, for example, they're the antagonists of the Evil Dead franchise. So they're the ones who created the book, and they're very they're not like the old ones from Cthulhu. They're the Dark Ones, and
But
they
it's
can
basically the
take
same
human
thing.
form. Yeah, it
basically
is.
the same thing.
Yeah, there's one of them that shows up in the TV show called Ruby Nobi, and he takes it's a dark one that takes the shape of a woman. And I think there's a character in the TV show, but I like I said, I haven't watched it.
What's interesting is Monsterpalooza did an episode where they had the two young actors on as guests on Monsterpalooza, where they were talking about being on the show, and stuff.
Yeah. And this book was supposed to be even older than Egypt. It was supposed to be like 5,000 years old with ancient Sumerian, even though it's not what you see when they flip in the pages. But there's two versions of the Necronomicon, right? I mean, the one that we see in this first movie is not the same as we see in the later movies. There's a different prop for that, right?
Yeah.
Yes. This first movie.
The one in Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness is bigger and a little more elaborate,
more sculpted, more elaborate.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But it's made by the same guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can tell it's just a bigger budget, nicer version of the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You should hear him tell about, and I got to hold it and touch it and open it and flip through it. I know that what he says about how he made it is true. It's just like corrugated cardboard with latex painted on it and, tissue-y type pages, protecting a page where there's a drawing, You know how some books have those tissue pages,
I got to say, we're coming up on one of those scenes that everybody remembers about this movie because Cheryl, we're seeing the evil force is surrounding the cabin, going from window to window. I like how the second room, they put like a red light on it. They're taking their clothes off. They're getting ready to get down and dirty. But Cheryl, she is by herself looking at the drawing that her possessed hand did, and she's walking out of the basement, walking out of the cabin for some reason because she thinks she's being watched.
Yeah, it's like there is one shot of boobies in this movie, I believe.
Yeah.
Well,
and some implied tree rape and stuff.
Implied.
Oh, not implied. Yeah. It's full on.
It's full on, right?
You remember that one shot where it shows between her legs and there's a branch sticking out?
It's coming up, yeah.
Which I'm glad that they didn't do that in Evil Dead 2. When they
did make her chase through the woods, almost the same though.
Yeah.
I think we should have more possessed trees, not just in Poltergeist and Evil Dead, but we should have more trees,
more Ents.
Yeah. In the Cabin in the Woods, the movie, there's like a part.
I love that.
Yeah, there's like a panel where one of the guys that's controlling the whole thing, like the big conspiracy of people
the control room. Yep.
The control room. In the they have a betting whiteboard with the names of monsters. One of them is like molesting tree.
Oh,
yeah, right. Tree rape.
Yeah,
You can't say that.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah, but now he's going to have to edit the sound.
No,
can you not say that?
I think I already said it.
Yeah.
What's great is that actress was such a trooper to put up with that. Like, a lot of it had to be shot in reverse, where they start off like with her hands, cupping her own breasts,
right.
And they have all these vines, wrapped around in a circular pattern, and she's holding them on herself, and then they yank them off, and it looks like in reverse, it looks like they come up and wrap around her,
Oh, we're seeing little trees be crushed.
Yeah.
It's interesting, too, because they don't, want anybody to go out in the woods. It's like once you know that the demon of Kandarian is out there and she comes running back to the cabin, it's like, don't go back out there, anyone,
Yeah.
It's a good thing that he didn't use day for night because that wouldn't have worked as well.
Well, and of course, when Scotty goes out there, he gets really messed up.
Yeah, he's dead after that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this scene.
You know what else is great is when they push out his eyes, his thumbs and his eyes.
Yeah,
yeah.
And he pulls that big old
dagger,
stick out of him.
Tree. Yeah, a lot of people over the years have thought, is that his dick they're pulling out?
No, it's just a tree branch that apparently was holding all of his blood in him, and he
his
guts,
died.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
They
Sam
always say
Raimi.
that, like if you're impaled, in the field, if you're an army man or something, they say don't pull it out until you
Yeah.
get to the medevac.
But he was also dead, a deadite. So whether that would kill him or not, I don't. It's like he's already dead.
Well, a lot of
Yeah.
crap came out.
Yeah.
The branch pulled
Yeah.
out.
It wasn't that much fun for the actress to watch this in the theater in the premiere with her mother. I'll tell you that.
Oh,
Yeah, with the tree rape. Yep.
Yeah. It's like, no, don't worry. We'll have plenty of fog. Nobody will see anything. I just saw a titty. There we go.
Well, what was ironic was that, she had to run almost naked. She's got a robe sort of thing on, but it's
Sure.
very flimsy and thin. And then she has on her feet, it's practically barefooted. She's got some sort of
Slippers.
foot covering.
She's got some
Yeah.
moccasins. Yeah.
Thin-
Oh, there we go. We just saw the reverse shot of the stick going in between her legs.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
but she really got scratched up running through the woods because
For
the
real,
brambles
yeah.
and all that
Because
stuff.
she just went for it. She didn't
Yeah.
have any
Yeah.
padding or nothing. And, they had a predetermined route, with like 2x4s or something on the ground, but it still was very brutal on her.
All right, the monster's
What a
moving on.
trooper.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
She's gonna run back to the cabin now.
Yeah, for her life.
It's funny because, these special effects are not that elaborate. It's just basically reverse photography, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But it works really well.
Well, the trick is Sam Raimi himself was a magician. He used to do magic shows and stuff,
really?
for kids' parties and things. Yeah. And as he was a huge fan of the Three Stooges, and when he and his buddies, Rob Tappert and Bruce Campbell and stuff, they all used to know each other, and they used to make 8mm and Super 8mm movies, and they would make these little epics, mostly comedies based on Three Stooges antics, and they would eventually start showing them at their college campus. Like it turned out that if you were, on campus as a
student
person living in the dorms or whatever, you could rent a auditorium on campus really cheap, and they would just project their films and charge money, and they started making money that way, and that's what led to Within the Woods.
Right. That's just goes to show you how much Sam Raimi was already had the bug for movie making.
Exactly. Ever since he was
from
a
a
kid,
tender age.
basically.
Yeah. And then they thought about quitting school, right? Because they were like, hey, we can just make movies like these that we see in the drive-in. So
Yeah.
Exactly.
we'll make a movie. We can do.
And basically, they never looked back. I mean, after Evil Dead, it was successful. And so after that, they went to try to make another movie, and that was a fiasco called Crime Wave.
Oh, okay. To me, I think he's really a master, and this movie in particular, he's a master of creating tension and then releasing it.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
Yeah.
you got right now, I mean, this moment, the tension of her going through every single key.
He's also a master of crazy camera angles.
Yes, absolutely.
Ryan, since you're the specialist in remote properties, how the heck do these guys have electricity here? They got a couple of floodlights outside the cabin.
Yeah.
They don't have electricity.
I guess it's supposed to be lanterns.
They would use a generator, for when they absolutely had to have.
Yeah.
Well, I know that. I'm just saying there's two floodlights mounted in the front of the house.
Well, yeah, the house is, I mean, in the story, the house obviously is meant to have electricity.
Right.
Because nobody went out and started up a generator. They just opened the door and turned the switch on.
But it would probably have to be a generator-operated thing, right? Because
yeah, I mean, if
I don't think
considering
anybody would
how
have
they
any
had to
sort
go
of-
over a dilapidated bridge to get there, there's probably no electrical poles.
Yeah, you want to hear an anecdote about that bridge? They actually got permission, from the county or whatever, to screw that bridge up even more. That bridge was, functional. I mean, people could go across it and stuff, but
you're saying it was a real bridge?
Yeah. They were given
I never would have
permission
thought that.
to go out there and bust it up, and because there's this actual plank of board of the bridge, that falls. And you see
where the
it
car's
fall
going.
and smash into the water, and so at another point, I can't remember if it's only in the second or if it's in this one too, where when they try to leave, the bridge is all broken and twisted, and they can't get out of this area.
It's coming up. You're a little far ahead of us, but right now they're going into the car. They're going to find out that the car. I'm just talking
about the real bridge and the fact that the county gave them permission to destroy it.
I think in the second movie it's a matte painting, so I think you're talking about in this one.
It's a model too.
You saw it in the beginning.
Models.
But in the second movie, you see it all like curled up on itself,
right? Twisted metal and stuff. But this movie, another interesting anecdote is the Oldsmobile. I think it's an Oldsmobile 88. Delta 88 is this special car to Sam Raimi. He's had it in every single one of his films. He even had it flown or shipped over by boat to New Zealand to work on stuff over in New Zealand, because I think they shot Ash versus Evil Dead over there in New Zealand. And he had 4 of them. He owned 4 of them. But there's one that was the original one that I think he still has, and it's in working condition. I think he must have lost his virginity in that car or something.
What I like about this is also because of the low budget and probably not having enough lights, it's just so dark. The woods are so dark. It's just completely pitch black.
Yeah.
It's like they're driving inside a void.
And the fog really helps.
Yes, the fog. The brambles.
And the sound effects. I mean, one of the things that about this first movie was they were actually in that cabin, like overnight and stuff. And so there were times when at night, in the middle of the night, when it was quiet and people were trying to sleep and stuff, Sam or one of the people, the sound guy, heard this whistling wind sound that has now been recorded, while they were on location. And it becomes the background noise on almost everything. In the second film, the third film, it's that noise of the
the wind.
That whistling wind and kind of a spooky, hollow feeling.
It's true, yeah.
And it's true that the darkness feels so oppressive and scary and real. When it
disconnects you.
Yeah, when the other parts of the movie are so unrealistic and horrifying in a fantasy kind of a way.
Yeah, but the dark itself becomes
scary.
Yeah,
an oppressive presence.
It has actually scared people.
Yeah, I mean, when Evil Dead 2 is comedy, this one's not really.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a few funny moments, like the point when Bruce Campbell and them are unpacking the car. It's kind of a Three Stooges moment where they're throwing like sleeping bag 1, 2, 2.
Look at the twisted bridge.
Yeah.
It looks almost like the twisted fingers of a hand, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and that's emphasized a lot more in Evil Dead 2 with the map painting and stuff.
But they use symbolism and metaphor and stuff.
They're cut off from the world.
And that's why the location of the cabin, where it's kind of like in a bowl around it, is good.
Oh no, Cheryl's losing it.
Yeah.
One of the crazy things, about this film was every time a character turns possessed, their eyes go white, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But this was 1981 or 1980, when they began, and they bought contact lenses that were white, but back in those days they had to be solid, hard glass.
Right. They weren't the soft,
not flexible lenses like we have today. And
right.
Bruce Campbell is famously for being known to say, it's like trying to put Tupperware under your eyelid.
Oh, God.
Yes, yes.
And they could only wear them for 15 minutes, and then they had to take them out.
It's same thing with the Cenobites with the black eyes. I mean, they also had to wear those hard black lenses, and when they were on, they couldn't see anything.
Right, and the same thing with these white ones. I own a pair of soft white ones, as well as one of my eyes has already started to turn that because of my blindness. But the point is that when you're wearing them, even the soft ones that are plastic and are thin, you see like you're looking through milk, like you're looking through 2% milk.
Clearly.
If you held up a glass of 2% milk to the light in your house and looked through it.
they're doing the ESP scene where you see now that Cheryl is now
Six
possessed.
Of diamonds, 4 of
Yes.
clubs,
Yeah.
6
Yes.
of hearts. Yeah, that was inspired by, real, like, psychic phenomenon type stuff.
You see that again in Ghostbusters.
Right. But you get zapped. The other guy gets electric shock.
Yeah, if Bill Murray didn't like them.
Right. And the guy was doing that for only $4 or something.
You can keep the $5.
So
but anyways,
this scene of stabbing her ankle is so painful to watch.
Yeah, isn't that great? Like, in other words, here they're making this movie and they're thinking, like, okay, what could we do that's, like, really hard to watch?
Yeah.
And they got the idea of stabbing a pencil into the Achilles tendon, ankle area, And it's a foam leg. Like, I've held that prop leg in my hands, and, there was a number 2 yellow pencil sticking out of it.
But it's stuff that's relatable like that is the hardest stuff to watch sometimes.
Yeah, because you know what a yellow number 2 pencil's like.
Yeah.
Just
they
like
did the same thing to Jerry Dandridge, the vampire. They stabbed him in the hand with a number 2 yellow pencil also.
Oh.
In Fright Night.
So
it does remind a little bit of the vampire in Fright Night when he's got the burnt cross on his forehead. In this case, it's just a Band-Aid.
After so many years of seeing Evil Dead movies, it's interesting to go back and watch this now and think, like, when you're supposed to be watching this for the first time right now, are we supposed to be thinking Scott is the hero?
Could be.
Maybe.
I mean, I think Bruce comes off as kind of a wuss,
Yeah.
From most
definitely. Yeah, because
he's kind of a straight guy at the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, and he's a reluctant hero.
Right. And Scotty seems to be a little bit more capable.
Yeah. And
for now.
Yeah, exactly. And he's gonna abandon his friends in a little while.
Right.
Yeah.
In the worst possible way.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell the separation between Cheryl with makeup and then the hag in the in the basement when they're hitting it with a thing. It looks like they turn like that and they really decay. Their hair becomes gray and they're become all grimy.
And probably Ted Raimi or something.
It could
be. No, not in this movie. No. Actually, Ted Raimi didn't hardly do nothing for this one.
Yeah.
Well, he's in the credits, though, as a fake chef.
Yeah, he was a fake chef, But what I mean is, for the scenes in that basement, it's the girl, the girl with contacts and stuff. Yeah.
So I found out, preparing for this, that it's not just Sam Raimi and Ted Raimi. There's Ivan Raimi as well, who used to write
the second one. He helped write the second one.
So I found out about him.
And Army of Darkness. I mean, he's their older brother, Ivan. And, Sam is the middle brother, and then Ted is the little brother. But that's why they abuse Ted so much.
Yeah, I was the kid brother.
In the second movie, he is really abused because he plays Henrietta down in the basement.
Oh, and this is almost like a shipwreck, stranded situation. Because when you're in the middle of the woods and you can't go anywhere and there's no bridge... it's like being lost in a boat in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah,
in the water.
And it's the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's even worse. I saw the Las Vegas 4D Evil Dead musical, and that was a lot of fun.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I worked on a production here in San Francisco.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I think we spoke about that before on the podcast, but it's great because there's my favorite song in that, and I think Catalina from Little Spark Films has sung that before in some performances. Yeah. It was that my men keep getting killed by Kandarian demon
song,
and that's a great song.
Yep. You should watch Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's pretty good.
I got to see, before I went blind, I mean, that's how long ago that show was on. I got to see a little bit, with one eye before I went completely blind.
I
know a lot about it. I've heard a lot about it.
This movie was banned in England for a while. It was considered a video nasty, and they actually,
that's right. In the 80s.
They were actually almost. I don't know if they actually took Sam Raimi to court, but there was some obscenity charges or whatever. I don't know.
No,
I'm trying to remember
from video stores. And
I'm trying to remember. Was this movie unrated when it was in the theaters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unrated.
Oh, and that dagger, when it comes back in the second movie, it's not like steel on the knife part, right? Isn't it like bone all the way down?
Yes, it's supposed to be bone.
Yeah. So
but
that's the
here's
difference
more like
between the first and
small
second
sword.
movie. Yeah.
Just like the book, underwent improvement between the first and second movie.
Yeah.
In fact, I've held that real dagger from the first movie in my hands, and believe it or not, all he did was take a plastic model kit skeleton that you could buy at the hobby shop.
Oh.
And, the kind that's like maybe 12 inches tall or so, where the skull's head is small enough to, a little bigger than a golf ball. It's like fits in the palm of your hand. And he built the dagger with that and chicken bones and some, like clay material like Sculpey or,
it does look like it was made that way. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I think for the blade, he used like a yardstick, a wooden yardstick, and just sanded it and whittled it down and painted it silver or something. Yeah.
And this one, it looks like it's metal, the blade.
It really does look like he worked around a real knife.
It's not.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I mean, he tells everything about how he made the book, how he made the dagger, Like, it was funny because they were all sharing one big house, all the actors and the crew, and he had, like, the laundry room as his little place to hang out and sleep, and he had chicken bones and stuff in there, drying for making props with, because also there was monster hands that they used, like Playtex living gloves, those pink ones you see, and he glued, chicken bones to the tips of each finger to make monster hands, So the chicken bones and the carcass of chicken in his area started stinking, and other people in the house complained,
As they should.
Because of rotting animal carcass.
Yeah.
But there's some horror stories that I've been told about this where, the contact lenses, for instance, they can only keep them in for 15 minutes because they're solid. They don't breathe.
Yeah.
So your eye, needs to breathe. So in order to put them in and take them out, they had no running water at the cabin. So they only had coffee. They had a coffee maker, and they had boiling hot coffee and boiling hot water. So they literally would rinse the lenses in coffee and stick them back in your eye.
That doesn't sound right.
It's true. It's all true.
Look, the Deadite just ended up in the fire, and he just pulled it out.
Yeah, they
such a good
burn.
scene.
You can kill them if they burn.
The face makeup, it's decent, but some parts you can definitely tell those are just brushed in with like little brushes and stuff.
Well,
oh yeah. I mean, Tom's the first to admit that, he didn't even know about alginate. Like, he had to make a mold of Betsy's face, the first Deadite.
Makeup's really crusty. Yeah, he's got some crusty makeup here in the hands and stuff.
Well, what I mean is just to mold her face, he did not have the dental alginate that people use to mold faces. He used plaster of Paris and Vaseline.
Yeah.
And when it got hot and hardened, I mean, here she is. They gave her like a pen and a paper to say, if you have any trouble, write down here what you want us to know. And she wrote down, getting hot. Yeah. It's getting hotter.
Yeah.
I want out,
Yeah.
And when they took it off of her face, it ripped her eyelashes.
Oh no.
Yep.
Here we go. Another decapitation here. That definitely looks like.
Is it?
Well, not decapitation. No.
Is it the shovel decapitation?
No. It's
why
the Deadite is eating the hand of the
Oh, they gnar the hand off. Like, in other words, that scene was intended to have the hand get cut clean off, but because of the rubber not coming loose all the way, the actor decided to ad-lib it and bite it off, which made it even gnarlier.
That works.
And then they added sound effects and stuff.
Oh, there we go. So does the Kandarian dagger actually kill the Deadites, or do they have to be dismembered?
I think it's supposed to kill them, right?
Because I was trying to understand.
It can. Like, in other words, I think if you say an incantation from the book and use the dagger and stab it in the heart or something, it probably could kill it.
It sucks the demon out of the corpse or whatever.
Well, what's cool about, do you see when they stab somebody with that dagger, how the mouth of the little skull at the end of the dagger,
it pours blood
comes out.
and smoke comes out of it.
Right.
Which
and
is,
Tom
I think,
had tubes running down the length of it inside so that you could blow cigarette smoke and blood through it. I used a lot of cigarette smoke in Dead Pit, too. It's one of the only smokes that you can push through a long plastic tube, and have it come out the other end. You can't. A fog machine doesn't really work very good for that.
Okay, I found the information on how he made the Kandarian dagger. It says here, prior to leaving, he completed the Kandarian dagger. Creation was surprisingly quick and simple. He bought some 1-inch wide flat stock of aluminum from an East Lansing hardware store, cut it to a point with a hacksaw, and grinded the edges with a power tool. For the hilt of bones, he took a few handfuls of paper mache product called celluclay and shaped a thick
paper mache.
Yeah, a thick curved handle over the blade. He stuck dried chicken bones, 12-inch skeleton model, and let it dry. Finally, he painted it with some acrylic paint. That's pretty cool.
Well, I believe there must have been more than one, because he actually showed me one that had a wooden blade.
Yeah, probably there was a hero one, and probably there was a faker one.
Right.
A Shemp dagger.
Well, it's going to be dangerous if it's metal, so the wooden blade was probably safer.
Yeah, for things where you don't have to stab anyone with it. Oh my gosh, this is just total chaos. I love it. The blood is going over the lens of the camera. It's like Ash is looking away. He's just standing there by like you said, Ryan, he doesn't seem like he's going to be the survivor or the hero. Yeah. Oh my god, this shot.
Except he's also the most sympathetic and relatable out of the characters.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at all the body parts twitching. Oh my god. Yeah.
Have we already seen the gifting of the necklace, magnifying glass necklace?
Yeah, we did. Yes.
Now, that magnifying glass necklace is kind of an interesting prop, because they bought it at a local mall at some cheap little store and paid maybe $15 for it, and it was actually gold, and Sam wanted it silver, so they actually spray painted it silver. And so there's a scene where the paint is still kind of wet, and if you look closely, probably especially in 4K, you can see silver paint on his fingers, when he's giving it to her or handling it or something.
Oh, wow.
And he hates it. What's his name? Bruce Campbell hated that thing.
Well, and that same, he gives her that same necklace again in Evil Dead 2.
Right.
Yeah.
For continuity. But, he literally said, I hate that thing so much. If I still had it, somebody asked him, did you keep that necklace? And he said, if I had it, I would have smashed it with a hammer.
Oh, wow. Another thing that was really a big problem was the fake blood, because they were making at the time the fake blood with corn syrup, Caro. And, I was reading something that said that they cleaned out every supermarket in the area for Caro, and Bruce Campbell also hated that blood because
it's super.
They had to put a lot on him, and it's super sticky, and then you get cold and all that stuff. So it just kind of stays on you.
It's miserable.
We use that for Kung Fu Dragons movies, and it's sticky and gross, and
Can you imagine, though, how much was sprayed all over the place and on Bruce Campbell? I mean, I've heard stories about how the floor of the cabin was just sticky.
Oh,
you could walk because blood was everywhere,
Yeah. Oh, I bet.
Yeah. Tom Sullivan was originally sleeping in the living room while he was working with some of the other guys. And then it says here in the Book of the Dead website, it says... but after a few weeks, he could no longer bear the snoring and started sleeping in the laundry room, set up his special effects workshop on the basement, and used the kitchen when he needed to bake foam latex moldings. Incomplete before arriving in Tennessee, the Book of the Dead was illustrated and completed at the kitchen table, where he usually chatted to Josh Becker about films. So that was very artisanal. They were just working on the cabin and just making do.
That's a bit of a mix-up right there. They rented a house with multiple stories and multiple rooms for all the actors and cast to sleep in and stay at, which was about I think it was like 6 or 8 miles away from the actual cabin. Once the little cabin, had begun to be filmed in, they were leaving their cameras and their tools and stuff behind, and then going back to the house, to sleep and eat and stuff. And one of the times when they came back to the cabin, they found that all their power tools had been stolen. So they decided, somebody's got to sleep at the cabin to protect, because there was a Nagra sound recording device that was worth a lot of money. There was a 16 millimeter, Mitchell camera sitting there on a tripod.
Oh, look at this.
Nobody stole the more expensive stuff. They stole the power saw and stuff.
Oh, look, we just saw the infected ankle thing.
Cool optical effect.
Pencil.
Yep.
That was animated. They locked down the leg of the actress, and they did it shot by shot. And at the end, it says here that it took so long to do it that her leg went numb. And when they unlocked her leg, she just rolled around the floor vomiting for 5 minutes.
Oh,
wow!
It was really bad.
That's because it was just like the werewolf in the movie The Werewolf, where they kept Lon Chaney sitting in a chair and put all the makeup on a little at a time and filmed a little more and then put a little more. It's like motion. Animation. Stop motion animation under the camera, drawing under the camera, basically.
Oh,
for the veins to spread. Really
right.
quickly.
Yes. Yeah. So the original Deadites, when they would die, they were supposed to deflate into smoke, right?
Well, that was stupid. He wanted them to be made into balloons, and they would fill the balloons with smoke, and they would deflate. And that was a dumb idea to begin with. But it couldn't be done with their budget.
He's slapping him around, and he's got like a bone sticking out of his arm.
Oh, man, yeah. He's already infected. You can tell because he's got that crusty yellow stuff all over his face.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting how in one of the shots where they first drag out, the first girl that becomes a Deadite by the legs, they grab her by the feet and they drag her out the front door of the cabin.
Yeah.
That she had no padding on or anything, and she got hurt. She was bleeding, and then
when they got twigs and rocks and stuff.
When they got her out on the porch, they had to bash her in the face a couple of times or something too.
Oh, with the styrofoam wood beams.
Yeah, Linda.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because the first moment when they drag her out, she's got this elaborate, veiny makeup that was done on that leg, and in the next shot, she looks like a little doll. They gave her cheeks that were red, rosy cheeks, and more of a
we're
white
seeing her
face.
She's
that's the makeup that they came up with. They liked it better,
Oh my God. It's like I saw an interview with Bruce Campbell. He's now punching her to make her stop laughing. And Bruce Campbell once said in an interview, yeah, I mean, it was bad in the 80s. You can do anything to a woman in those movies and in those days. Nowadays, nobody would be punching a poor lady like that.
Well, that they made another Evil Dead movie, but they flipped the switch and they made the Ash character into a girl.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was directed by Fede Alvarez. And it's just Evil Dead. It's just a remake. And in case instead of the cabin, instead of the cabin with a group of friends, it's a family. It's like a brother and a sister, and she's got a heroin addiction. And through some of the things in the film, people think could be that she's hallucinating because of her addiction.
I've only seen the 3 movies, the original trilogy. I haven't seen anything else, but that's interesting. I should probably check it out.
Yeah, and they've got a new one just about, or it already came out probably, called Evil Dead Rises. Yeah. And that's going to be about a mother and her 2 kids.
Yeah, I tried watching. I haven't finished it yet. I fell asleep, But yeah, I tried watching that. It has a weird opening, and then it goes into a flashback, and it's a little confusing at the beginning. But I got to finish that one. Oh, it's like this. This is the part where they're trying to be like, no, it's okay, I'm fine, let me out, please.
Right, where she can try and lie to come out of the.
But it's all a trick.
Yep.
And the boyfriend and the other guy, his name is what, Scott? I forgot the other guy's name.
Yeah, Scott.
He's just kind of like twitching in the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been messed up.
Cheryl, Linda, Scott, and Shelley.
Right. Or Cheryl, sister Cheryl.
Yeah. Cheryl's in the
what's
cellar.
Interesting is, they did a very similar. That's why I know what you're talking about, Ryan. In the second movie, they did a very similar thing where Henrietta is the mother, and she's in the cellar, and she's singing to them like, "Hush, little baby, don't say a word."
Yeah. Yeah, and I like Evil Dead 2 a little better because they could do a lot more by adding more characters to it.
Yeah, I like the hick guy. They make it's
Mama
comedy.
Joe!
There's some comedy to it though. When she says, "I'll make you a deal. You take all my luggage and I'll pay you," or whatever, and he says, "All right." Then later on he's got this huge mountain of luggage on his back.
I thought you was talking about that goddamn little bag.
But he's a good, fight type actor, that guy. Like he could kick Bruce in the face, and like you say, like when he's out there in the woods going, "Bobby Joe." Yeah.
Oh, he just dragged Linda down the steps. Yeah, I could see why she would be getting hurt, but she's a trooper. I mean, that she's putting up with it.
What's amazing is that cabin was a real place, but they had to do so much work to it. Like there was 6 inches of cow manure on the floor when they got there, and they had to literally, Bruce had to shovel cow manure, till they got the floor cleared off. Then they had
let a cow in the house.
Well, it was an abandoned building, and so out in the cold, horses and cows, when it's cold, they'll go inside of a shelter if they have one nearby. So they would just poop in there for years.
Oh my God!
This was an abandoned place. In fact, they said that they paid $2,000 to rent the property. Rent the hunk of land where the cabin was on.
Yeah.
And that was for like a year or more or something. Or they could do whatever they wanted. Eventually, the cabin burned down. It's not there anymore.
I'm seeing the locations: Bluff Road Bridge, Clinch River Road, Riverside Road, and Old Highway 25 East, all around Morristown. The Evil Dead was shot in Marshall and Detroit, Michigan. The cabin was located in Morristown, Tennessee, and they also filmed some stuff in Knoxville. And, of course, Sam Raimi's basement and some other guy from the cast that had a family cabin. I think it was Bruce Campbell's family cabin was also used.
Yep. And then also Tom and the Bart, the guys that shot the ending, all the stop motion special effects stuff at the ending, they did that in Bart's basement.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
He got bit.
Scotty?
Stabbed. No, he got stabbed in the arm with the Kandarian dagger.
Yeah.
Dagger. Did the blood squirt out the end?
No.
Well, no, but she licked the blade, which was kind of cool.
Oh, that's very cool. I like that.
Oh, that guy. I like how she all of a sudden has like fake eyelashes drawn all over her eyes to make her eyes look even like weirder.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted her to look kind of like a baby doll.
A doll,
so that
right?
It would be even creepier when she was, evil.
Yeah.
It's really disturbing the way she keeps cackling throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's your sister, Cheryl.
Yeah.
And the way that every time there's a Kandarian demon, there's kind of like a very descriptive way that they move. A very specific
jerky.
way.
They're
jerky, right? Their neck is always like they got a spaghetti noodle
and they
neck.
make the sound effects of like cracking bone and stuff too.
Yeah, we just got the part where she fell on and spit milk at the camera.
Yeah.
and blood.
So do you guys have any questions about how anything was done or anything?
Well, I mean, the second one has a lot more special effects. I mean, I think for the first one, we could pretty much covered most of the stuff that we saw on camera. But the second one for sure has a lot more going on with stop motion animation and corpses dancing and stuff like that. I'm just surprised that they managed to pull this thing together and turn it into such a cult film. I think that this really got a second life when it hit home video. That's really
absolutely. I mean, one of the things about stop motion in this one is the whole ending is like a tour de force of stop motion. And combined with live action. Like, in other words, the way that they did that was they would do a matte on the camera. Like, they'd either have a matte box or they would black out a portion of the frame, and the portion of the frame that was blacked out would have the film wound back frame by frame. And then after they shot the stop motion, then they could do another, with tubing and stuff, they could do another section of the frame with live action, like oatmeal tinted with food coloring. And we
got chainsaw action.
Yeah.
Oh.
He just strapped her to the table, and
he's going to dismember.
Yeah,
I love how they turned this scene up on its head in Evil Dead 2, where they recreated this scene, but then when he goes to find the chainsaw, there's the outline of it, and it's not there, and then she comes after him with the.
She has the chainsaw. Yeah, the headless body has the chainsaw, which must make it hard for her to aim. To kill him.
Yeah. Like, this is a real dramatic moment.
They built that headless puppet, and they made a lightweight mounted chainsaw so that they could have the puppet operating the chainsaw.
Oh.
I like the way that Sam Raimi uses humor in his horror, but I'll explain why. It's not because it's a lighthearted way of it's more because it's to me it represents like the madness creeping in, right? When everything doesn't make
release.
Yeah, and exactly, yes. But also, it's that madness creeping in. Like, nothing makes any sense. Nothing matters anymore. Ha, ha, ha,
Yeah.
Like, when he starts, moving up and down, swaying up and down, and all the things in the cabin are moving along with him. It's just wow,
all
wild.
The start flapping, and he looks in the mirror, and there's another reflection of himself, and, it talks to him and stuff, and then the mounted animal on the wall, comes alive and stuff.
Yeah. And, for its time, it already had things that were tropey, but he uses these tropes in a way that he mixes them all together. It's
he knows which ones to use.
He knows the recipe, right? He knows the recipe, and he makes it work because sure, there's the corpse on the floor that when the other guys turn around, the corpse opens the eyes and then closes them again. So we know that they're not really dead.
Yeah.
You got these shots that we've seen a million times in other movies, like big close-up shots of the eyes and, surrounded by shadows, just a sliver of light going through the eyes and all that stuff. But it works so well because it's just Sam Raimi using the language of cinema, and for a sophomore film, it's just so well done.
Well, actually, it was so early too. This was right after the 70s. This is 81, and so he was creating tropes. These are tropes that now are used all the time in other horror films and stuff.
To me, this style reminds me a lot of Bava films. Where people
Mario
get possessed
Bava.
By things, and then there's decapitations,
Black Sunday,
or
the one with
the church, the church, or the La Chiesa, or demons, the theater with the demons and the mask of the demon that possesses people. So I like possession movies like this. They're really, really freaky, especially when there's a big group of people. They're getting picked off one by one.
I know. I mean, at this time, other than The Exorcist, there weren't a whole lot of possession movies out there. So they were some of the early, creating tropes, like we say, for the horror genre.
I like how he took the time to actually make fake crosses to bury his friends.
Yeah, out of scraps of tree branches.
After he did all that work, it was for nothing.
That's right.
You mean because they come back out of the grave or what?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. He's going to grab the the necklace, and he gets grabbed. Yeah, that makeup is rough, dude. That looks like instant paper mache. That's
You know
what it
what's
looks like.
interesting about the necklace? The idea Sam Raimi said behind it was that in the end of the film, in the script, I guess it says that, Ash can't quite reach the book, and the fireplace is going, and he, is trying to burn the book, to stop the evil. And, the sun is supposed to be coming up, and so the sun peeks up, and he uses the magnifying glass to burn the book. But that didn't end up working out, so he just uses the necklace to grab the book and
like
drag
a
it
grappling
towards.
hook.
Yeah,
Oh my God, he's
throws it
beating
into
the hell
fire.
out of that deadite with a board. Yeah, there was another part where the body spits up milk at the camera, and that she said she actually spit it up right at the camera lens because she was fed up with being hit.
Yeah, yeah, because then they had to break and clean the lens and stuff.
Oh, shovel. And smack. There we go.
Yeah, these women
Shovel
were
decapitation.
troopers.
Yeah.
They were very big troopers because they were suffering under freezing conditions.
Yeah, they were buried up to their neck.
They had no porta potties or nothing on location.
Oh, God.
God.
No running water.
This is the part where Sam Raimi kind of loses me a little bit. Is like his liberal use of body fluids. Like, I started watching one time, Drag Me to Hell, and I couldn't finish watching the movie because it's just so
vomits.
All the vomits and bile and oh my God, I can't. I don't want to see like people get vomit in their mouth. It's like
I forgot that happened.
Yeah,
that's his bread and butter. I mean, this is his first film, and he made his bones on it. And so when he did Drag Me to Hell, we have Drag Me to Hell too on DVD. It's like when he did that, he went back to these roots.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. That witch is totally like a dead-eyed hag.
Yeah.
Totally.
The Roma lady. Yeah.
Yeah, we have in our collection we have the Sister Cheryl down in the basement. We have in the second movie we have the boyfriend. We have, I think you saw in those photos.
Yeah, the masks that you have. You have the pit, the pit bitch.
Yep.
From the
third
one.
film.
Yeah. So this am I crazy, or does this cabin look a lot smaller on the outside than on the inside?
Oh, definitely.
I guess that's
it definitely is.
because this one's got like 2 bedrooms. It's got a kitchen. It's got a living room
and a bathroom.
And
Even
honestly,
though,
from the outside, it just looks
from
like
the outside, it's a cabin with no
room.
running water. It wouldn't even have a bathroom.
It's basically a shack, just 4 walls and a roof.
Yeah,
right.
But that's the magic of Hollywood.
Bam.
The magic of movies.
Oh my gosh.
They must have already done the Ramo cam shot, right? Where the
No.
camera comes blasting through the glass window.
No, not yet.
No?
No. Right now, he's just shot the reanimated corpse, and he's trying to close the door, but the door is kind of stuck.
Oh, and he keeps slamming it and slamming it on the body part stuck in the door.
The rubber hand, the fingers get all messed up.
Yeah, that was one of those cheap rubber hands you could buy at a novelty store.
Hey, do what you can.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, like I said, Tom Sullivan didn't even know about alginate, so he was not in the position to be able to sculpt and mold and cast a realistic, believable hand,
In Cabin in the Woods, which is, drinks heavily from Evil Dead, the basement in the cabin also has a whole bunch of, like, haunted things.
Oh, yeah. And it's all rigged up with gas to make the people hallucinate and stuff.
Yeah. And they had, like, a musical box in the basement that would supposedly summon the Lord of Pain Cenobite that shows up with the chains, like, stuck through his head.
Yeah, but they didn't
not
use
chains,
the word
saw.
Cenobite, but yeah.
Right. It was Lord of Pain.
They tried to have all the types, all the tropes of horror in that movie, but, couldn't use copyrighted characters.
Yeah.
Here's another one, which is the bleeding house, the bleeding walls, blood coming out of the pipes.
Yep. Like in The Shining, too.
Right.
And the Poltergeist, right? Or Amityville, I forgot.
Amityville, yep.
Yeah.
Which I worked on in Amityville.
Oh, you did?
Yep. Amityville, The Next Generation, it's called.
Oh, okay.
It's got
Yeah.
it's got David Naughton from American Werewolf in London in it.
Oh.
It might be one of the franchises that has been the most abused with all these like new movies that come out on Hulu and Amazon or whatever. There's a whole
I
bunch of
know.
movies called Amityville that have nothing to do with the original stuff.
I think they even have the one that I worked on didn't either. It was a mirror that was in the original house.
Oh,
And
God.
That's what was haunted and possessed. And
Look, there's a movie
people-
projector in the cabin, and it's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an old 8mm or something, projector. And there's
Yeah.
a blood dripping down the screen or something shot.
there was, yes.
And
And I was like,
that
hey,
shot-
he's in a movie.
That shot of the blood is an idea that was given to them by Irving Shapiro, who was their distributor. And he's also the one that came up with the title Evil Dead, because it was originally going to be The Book of the Dead. He said, you got to have the blood dripping down the screen,
Yeah.
I think Evil Dead was a good choice because
Yeah.
it definitely it's a heavy title.
Well, he was a genius, distributor and producer and stuff, so he knew what he was talking about.
Yeah. That really calls for like the horror crowd.
It's interesting because, even our film, The Dead Pit, also, one word dead, one word pit,
Yeah.
evil, one word,
Right.
dead,
right, yeah.
one word,
Was there
A
a
lot
working
of films have the word dead in them.
was there a working title for the Dead Pit?
No, it was always the Dead Pit
Okay.
because the director and producer wrote and directed it,
Right. So you already had the idea. Okay, this is now where everything in the cabin is going bonkers.
Yeah.
The clocks
Yeah,
are
they had-
chiming.
They had all kinds of books and things that would flip and flop and do all kinds of jumping
I just
around.
love the deer head.
Yeah, me too. That's in the play too, where they made a deer head that you could stick your arm in like a puppet and make it move its head back and forth. And
I always had a fascination with pendulum clocks, and I don't know if this comes from my childhood because I lived in. So my family had some clocks, and my grandfather's house had a big clock that would chime the hours, and had to be like,
Wound.
they had to put a little wound every day and whatever. It was one of
the
those.
weights, it has weights.
Yeah, it had weights and stuff.
We have one, and now there's nobody in Fairbanks that can work on them. So
Really?
To
yeah,
repair it if
yeah,
it's broken or something.
yeah. Jennifer's dad's clock. We can't.
It's antique and old technology now.
Yeah.
Once I wrote a short story about a guy who has an aversion to wearing clocks, and he doesn't seem to age. It was kind of a mixture between like
Twilight Zone and
yeah, it's kind of a Twilight Zone kind of story. It's like this guy who he doesn't have clocks, he doesn't pay attention. He's kind of a rich playboy guy, and his friends always say he doesn't seem to age. One day he gets a girlfriend who gives him a wristwatch, and he starts using it.
Good.
And that's when he starts going a little, starts feeling like the weight of age. And
This is.
I'm going to
cool.
save that idea for me now because we're in a good part of the movie. He's looking at the mirror.
Yeah, he put. I love that where that's a kind of simple effect that the
Yeah,
mirror
it's a
having
Prince
the
of
water.
Darkness kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. The mirror is just a little tub of water.
Yeah.
right. That's a tricky thing to pull off, though.
Yeah, I bet.
Especially for this film.
Yeah, it would be really hard to film something like that and make it and trick the audience into believing that.
Because you have to angle the camera in a way that the water becomes kind of just reflecting you have to have a background of blackness. So yeah,
Black.
And obviously that's sitting on the floor, not on the wall.
right.
Yeah.
Right, you have to tilt the camera at 90 degrees.
Yeah.
But that also can make a cool gravity effect
Yeah.
where things fall at a different direction than they should,
And also, when you're more used to Evil Dead 2, you're expecting that his hand is going to get possessed, and it's like, nope. Not in
Wrong
this one.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he sticks his hand in the water and then it hurts.
Yeah.
But it's always implied in these kind of movies that it's like when you're stuck surrounded by evil at night, it's always you got to wait until morning. But it's like I always wonder why. Why wouldn't the demon still be outside the cabin in the morning when he goes out? You know what I mean? And I know the movie has to end, but
because the sun kills them. Yeah.
Oh, the sun kills them. Right. I forgot about that.
It's
part.
like a Dracula, the purity of the sun.
Oh, hold on, Ed. I need to get.
But because we do see the demon go, careening through the woods in the daytime as well. So that's why I was.
Yeah. Well, I think I
guess the rules aren't that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And the rules about how Ash can kill them seems like arbitrary too.
But
they
were
work,
making up as they went along, basically.
The dismembering part is a genius, stroke of genius. You have to dismember the zombies. And they did that too in the Return of the Living Dead or something?
Yes.
Where you have to dismember them, but they were still moving.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like...
But at least you could limit them.
Yeah, exactly. It's just to make it disable them so they can't hurt you.
Right.
But I think it's even more creepy when the zombie is not just the one you can shoot in the head and he's dead.
Yeah.
But you can cut him up and he's still going to be coming up to you.
And those pieces will still come after you.
Yeah.
Can you imagine just a foot, kicking your ass,
Well, Clive Barker did the body politic.
Right.
Yes.
Where the hands are, revolting and yeah.
He just jammed out the eyes of Scotty.
Oh, I love that shot.
And now he's pulling out the branch.
He made a head that you could stick your thumbs in and squish out the eye sockets. I love that.
Oh, he just pulled out. Oh my gosh. He just pulled out the drain.
Yeah.
The branch.
Now Ash is putting it together that if he burns the book, they'll all just sort of disintegrate.
Right. Which was the whole point of having a magnifying glass necklace.
How do they do that thing where the body starts smoking? Is that two liquids that they mix or something?
Well, I have chemical AB smoke, which, you spritz one on, and you can even let it dry. And then the second one you spritz on, and then step back or do it right out of camera range. Yeah. And as soon as the second spray hits it, it begins to smoke.
Oh.
Is it dangerous for people, or is it?
It can be, yeah. You don't want to put it directly on your skin.
Gotcha.
It's okay to put it on, if there's a rubber appliance on your skin and
AB
you put it on the
smoke.
rubber appliance, it's okay.
The Ash is protected a little bit by plot armor here, where she's whacking him with the fire poker when she could have impaled him with it instead. Right. Why isn't she stabbing him with it instead of just hitting him in the back?
Did you guys notice?
Aren't too smart.
Yeah.
Did you guys notice that the necklace, the chain of the necklace, was making a little skull design on the floor?
Oh yeah. They do that again in Evil Dead 2 also.
Yeah, good stuff.
Join us.
Yeah.
The Necronomicon looks almost made with wax or something. What did he use for that?
Latex. It's
latex. Okay, yeah.
But, it's intended to be human skin.
Yeah.
Like, there's a face on the cover because, he had molds of people's faces, so he could paint latex into the molds and then peel it out and powder it, and that was how he made the cover.
That in history there have been, books bound in human
made with
flesh.
Skin. Yeah. And inked with human blood.
There was one that was... There was one that was from someone who got hanged in Britain, and then they made his skin into a book with the story of his crimes and his execution.
Yuck.
Just a minute.
Sounds like Clive Barker.
Sounds like
Books of Blood.
Sounds
Every
like
page is red.
Oh my gosh! I'm looking at the claymation disintegration of the Deadites, which they did inspired by the Morlock in the Time Machine, right?
That's correct.
George Pell movie.
Sullivan. Tom Sullivan's such a fan of the original stop motion from King Kong and Ray Harryhausen and stuff, that he wanted to do stop motion so bad that the other guy who helped him do the ending sequence, he wanted to go with live action, like Rick Baker and Rob Bottin and stuff like that. And so the two of them were introduced to each other and discussed this end sequence because they were going to have to work together. They argued like cats and dogs until they finally decided, okay, we'll collaborate. We'll do it both. We'll make it stop motion and live action.
Well, it's good that they did.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Because it looks so cool. It looks so
It is
unique. People look at that ending and they go, how did they do that? You know?
Oh, look at their flesh being melting away into like oatmeal or something.
Yeah, it's so gross.
You also did a good melting in the dead pit, right?
Yeah, well, I hope so.
And then this is something that doesn't come back in the other Evil Dead movies, right? Is these hands coming out of the body. Like there's some kind of demon
That was-
inside of them.
You know, that's a pretty cheap trick. You know, he bought Playtex,
Yeah.
you know, gloves that you do dishes with, and he
Yeah.
glued chicken bones to the tips of them and then, you know, covered it with latex and stuff. And, you know, that in that shot where those arms come shooting out of the body, you kind of cross the matte line a little bit and you can see a you know, ghostly effect of it going across the matte line.
Yeah, I mean the implication that there's some kind of a demon or a monster like growing inside of them.
Oh, yeah. Like, in other words, you know, you can interpret that as they're rotten, they're evil inside. That's why, you know, the bile comes out and stuff.
Yeah.
I love that, though. I mean, using simple things like oatmeal mixed with food coloring,
Yes.
you know, pushed out of a tube, out of the sleeve of somebody's, you know, shirt and stuff.
Which
But he
kind
really
of-
milks. He really milks the deadites being decaying for like what 7 minutes.
At
Oh, I
least.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
mean,
a whole
it makes it
8-minute
feel like
sequence.
once they get possessed, they're completely hopeless, unless they're Ash. Like right in the second movie, when he gets possessed and then he changes back, he's fine.
I
It's got a
from
great
listening.
effect.
Yeah, from listening to you talk, I'm getting the idea that when they were doing this scene, they just kept coming up with new ideas to put into it.
Yeah.
Well, no. They had to plan this. This was carefully planned because, you know, stop motion is not something you can just ad lib, you know.
Sure.
But they storyboarded it and everything. And, you know, they had to plan the match shots. You know, each sequence, you know, they would put a black portion on the frame, you know, wind the film back, you know, remove that black portion, put it on the other side, and then do the live action. You know, like one side stop motion, one side's live action. And it's in the same frame. So you can't quite tell how it's being done.
Look, the sun is rising.
Yeah. Man, I'm glad that he didn't burn the Necronomicon with that tiny little magnifying glass. That would have been so dumb.
Yeah, that would have been hard to pull off, believably.
Yeah, it would take like an hour.
At least.
Yeah.
You know, I did my meltdowns, you know, for Dead Pit, and I had never done a meltdown before, you know, so I had to experiment and do research and everything. And one of the things I found out was, you know, you cannot just point like a heat gun at an arm made of gelatin or wax or whatever and expect it to just go bloop and melt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it takes a half an hour to get it to melt. So you have to use, like they use stop motion, you could use what's called an intervalometer and do time lapse, you know, where the camera will click off a frame every, you know, 10 seconds or something like that, so that, you know, it's not 24 frames per second, and therefore you speed up the action of something melting into, you know, a few moments instead of 5 minutes, you know.
Speaking of speeding up, here comes the evil, the force, whatever you want to call it.
He rides a motorcycle with the camera on it
Yeah,
through the cabin.
going through the cabin. Yep.
Wow.
Blowing away everything. And
he gets right up to Ash. He bumps into Ash with the motorcycle.
Yep. Written and directed by Sam Raimi. Produced by Robert Tappert.
And I love this music at the end. Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum,
Yeah, it's very jazzy.
It's also what the film was playing on that film strip in the basement.
Right. And I believe it's a Three Stooges music from one of the shorts.
So it was probably public domain at that point, maybe?
I'm not sure. They might have had to pay a small fee.
Yeah.
I mean, even Nina has paid for the use of little pieces of music.
It can be very
got the
affordable.
credits.
Yeah.
You
just
can
saw
get
their
some
music
things for $30, $40.
Oh.
And why not?
Yeah.
From some old black and white film, you know. But
Very
anyways, so that was what Stephen King said was, you know, like a tour de force, like a roller coaster ride of horror.
Yay.
He called it the most ferociously original horror film of 1982.
Right, and that really helped them. They were able to put that on the poster and on the box, and that helped sell, I'm sure, like $1 million worth of tickets.
And I'm looking forward to the rest of it because the next movie is really, really, really fun.
I thought IMDb said it was 1981. I think IMDb lied to me. Because the credits just said 1982. And that's the end of the credits, by the way.
Oh, I just want to say at the end, in the last frame of the credits, you see they say this: "The Evil Dead, the ultimate experience in grueling horror, was filmed in Morristown, Tennessee, and in Detroit, USA."
Yay!
Very good. Yeah, and I mean, I really got to hand it to Tom Sullivan for somebody who didn't even know about alginate when he made this film. I mean, he was literally, instead of using like rubber mask, grease paint, and makeup effects materials that we're used to, modern day and stuff, or even back then, like grease paint and stuff, he only had acrylic paint, and he was literally painting people's skin with acrylic paint, like all those little lines that you said were stop motion.
That would be tough to maintain. That would get kind of flaky. And
actually, no, it was pretty flexible and stayed on. It was hard to get off. They had to scrub their skins like with a Brillo pad, practically.
Wow.
But I mean, that's par for the course. I mean, I'm used to painting people with a material that's mixed with acrylic paint. Like, in other words, there's a material called Prozaid, and you mix 50-50 Prozaid and acrylic paint and a little water, and you can paint that onto appliances and then directly onto skin, so that it blends.
One thing here from the Fangoria article, number 23, which covered Evil Dead. Let me read you a little excerpt. This is really funny. It says, "We were rather surprised to hear that the Tennessee State Film Commission was of major help to the young filmmakers. In many states, low-budget filmmakers, especially those dealing in grue and gore, have found little help available from such government commissions. I'm not entirely sure they knew how low-budget we were," says Raimi. "We told them we were making a picture. They said great and put us in touch with a gentleman named George Holt, who was very helpful in finding those locations. About a month into the picture, some members of the commission came down to the location, and to say the least, they were shocked. We had a road leading to the location that you couldn't drive down because it had been raining steadily. They came in suits and dresses and high heels and had to walk down a half a mile of mud.
Oh, my God.
Then when they saw the place, it looked like a neutron bomb had gone off in there. Caro syrup blood covering every inch of the floor, everything destroyed, a shotgun laying around. I think they thought we were part of the Manson family."
Wow.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I've heard lots of crazy stories about, then when, what's his name, Tom Savini was brought, on to a set. I don't know if it was the first one or the second one. I think it was the second one, because Greg Nicotero, introduced, these guys, to Tom Savini. And then like months and months later, Tom Savini's walking on the streets in New York, and these two guys come running up to him and grab him and drag him into an editing room, off of, in New York, off the street where Tom was walking. And it's Rob Tappert and Sam Raimi, and they're showing him footage from Evil Dead,
Wow.
So they loved, him, of course.
You know what's great at the end of this Fangoria article? It also says, Sam Raimi, the writer-director of Evil Dead, promises that the next one will stick to the letter of the law. There are 3 laws, he says. Law number 1 is the innocent must suffer. Law number 2 is the guilty must be punished. And the 3rd law is you must taste blood to be a man. And he added, we're working now on a 4th law, the dead shall walk, but we're not sure yet whether it's universal. We're still checking to see if it applies in every case.
Wow. That's cool.
That's good stuff.
It's interesting because then he went on to do Spider-Man. And after the first movie, they made this movie called Crime Wave, which was a nightmare. It's like they thought that, everything was going to be good. They were going to be stepping up, and they were going to get like a $3 million budget, but they budgeted it wrong, and they found out in middle of shooting that they really needed like $6 million, not $3 million.
Yikes.
And
So I have never heard of Crime Wave. Did it make it?
Yeah, you can find it. It's not like a big film. It's not popular or nothing. But it was supposed to be Bruce Campbell was going to star in it. But the studio, I think it was TriStar or one of those companies like that, was the one that was going to finance it. Or actually, no, it was Norman Lear's company, which I think was Tandem Productions. And they gave him such a bad time that they wouldn't let him edit it. They wouldn't let they removed Bruce Campbell from the lead. They wanted someone else for the lead, and it just was a nightmare. It was one of the worst experiences. They almost never recovered from it. Like the next after that was Evil Dead 2, and they raised the money on their own.
What year was Darkman?
That was after Evil Dead: Army of Darkness, I believe.
Was it? Okay.
Which was in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
Darkman is 1990.
Right.
Okay.
So
so that'd be before Army of Darkness then, because Army of Darkness was like 92.
Oh, okay.
So one last thing I just want to add, which I used to look at some articles about the movie, was that Fangoria now has an magazine archive online where you can go and see old items, old issues of Fangoria for free. So I will add the link to
show
the
notes.
particular. Yeah, to the show notes. But that's really cool. I mean, if you ever wanted to be able to read old Fangoria articles, now you can go into their website and check their archives, and you can actually read them there. So that's nice.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, I
Very
think
good.
my issue about Dead Pit's in there.
Yeah, it should be. All right, guys. Well, this is a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing the whole 3 movies, and that might push me into watching a little bit of the TV show. I'll see if I can watch that stuff.
How can you see that? Is that out on DVD now?
Well, it was originally on the Stars network, or you'd had to get the Stars app, and now I think it might be on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
I think if I remember right, I just bought the as soon as I heard that was coming out, I bought it on Blu-ray. So that's where I've got it. But
you mean you have the Ash versus the Evil Dead TV series?
Yeah. I bought the discs, so I didn't have to worry about it disappearing off of those platforms or
platforms.
Yeah, not paying for the right one or whatever.
That's cool because one of the things Bruce Campbell always complained about was how his fans were assholes because they would bootleg instead of pay for Stars or whatever, because then the show can't stay on the air.
Yeah, but it was nice. I mean, it was great that they got 3 full seasons of that. I mean, that's more than anybody could expect.
Got canceled in 2018, unfortunately.
Yeah,
like I would love now that it's available, to watch, binge it and stuff. I would, even though I can't see it, I would love to listen to it and have Nina describe things.
Yeah.
One of the first episodes,
checking it out.
I was able to see a little bit, like one of the first episodes, he is old and fat, and he puts on like a leather girdle and goes, you hear the leather sound, sound effects. Again, with Sam Raimi and those sound effects,
he returns to his old hometown and everybody there calls him Ashy Slashy because they blame him for all the deaths that were in the cabin.
The Slashy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got blamed for all that, I guess.
Yeah. So coming up next, we're going to be talking about the Hellraiser Quartet of Torment. We still haven't gotten to that yet. We'll be covering Clive Barker news. We'll have Jericho Squad coming back. We'll, of course, be moving on to Evil Dead 2. And we're going to be talking about your movie,
Dead
Ed.
by Dawn!
Yes, and we'll be talking about your movie, Dead Pit. And we'll be going back to the Boom Hellraiser comics.
We've got a lot of good stuff for opening up the 13th season. So, hey.
And we also want to say that our Patreon fundraiser for this year is Patreon. And so if people want to help us out, we've got a link to the Patreon. You can and you can join us at the $5 or $10 rate, or we've got $15 for sponsors. If you want advertising, we can do that too. And at the $5 rate, you can get access to videos that are not accessible to anywhere else. And at the $10 amount. You can suggest topics for the episodes, and maybe even if you want to be, join us. And
all of the other stuff, too.
Yeah, and plus all the other stuff. Exactly. Special BarkerCast shout-out to our first ever Patreon patron, David Anderson. Thanks, David. And also, buy our book. It's out on... we've got links on the show notes, but you can buy our book on Amazon. You can buy the hardcover there, or the Kindle book, or you can buy the ebook on Apple Books.
Spread the word. Tell a friend.
Yeah. So that will really help us out. We're trying this out instead of doing a Kickstarter. Jose just pointed out we made $2,800 on Kickstarter last year. I don't know if we can do that kind of money with Patreon. We'll see. So, yeah.
Well, that's the best way to support us. So if you want us to continue doing this, that's the best way to move forward. Yeah. And you can also, if you get a copy of the book, you also get access to some really good stuff that we put together over the years with a lot of good people who have joined us to be interviewed, and a lot of interesting information in that book.
Yeah. And
so buy it.
And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed. You can find the Clive Barker Podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. You can chat with us on our Facebook BarkerCast listeners group, our Facebook page, Twitter, or our Discord server. The best way to support us is to buy our book, The BarkerCast Interviews, Occupy Midian, available in hardcover on Amazon and ebook on Amazon and Apple Books. Fundraiser 10 is all about Patreon this year. Become a patron to get access to exclusive stuff, pick an episode topic, and maybe even get cool stuff in the mail. You can also buy a t-shirt on our TeePublic store. Go to tpublic.com and search for BarkerCast. Opening music by Ray Norrish. End credit music by Matt Furness.
Thanks for listening.